Okay, good morning, and let's begin today's session. So today we'll basically talk about foreign exchange and a little bit about insurance that you'll need while you're studying in the US. Um, but first start with the foreign exchange. Uh, options that you have when it comes to sending money from India to the US or to any other country for that matter. What options can you use? What are the facilities available? Um, so when it comes to foreign exchange, right, at least from a student's perspective, there is, of course, money that you will have to send to the university to pay your tuition fees, money for your personal expenses, and then while you actually start from India, or you start your journey from India to the US, maybe during your initial days, you might want to carry some cash or maybe a forex card. So, what options do you have for these? We'll discuss that. If you have any questions in between, just feel free to interrupt me and ask me those questions. Um, Now, when it comes to foreign exchange, right, there are many, what do you say, companies that offer foreign exchange. The most popular ones are the banks. Today, almost all banks offer foreign exchange services. A few years earlier, not all banks offer them, but nowadays, almost even the smaller banks, bigger banks, everybody offers you foreign exchange. That is, you can directly go to a bank and tell them uh, that you want to purchase a few dollars, or you want to send money abroad to maybe the university, or you want to send money to maybe your own account. Once the students actually go there, you might want your parents to actually send money to you to your bank account there. So what option? Any bank will do that. The limits set by RBI are very high, in the sense in a year you are allowed to send up to 250,000 US dollars. That is in a financial year, and I don't think any of you would really have would be actually falling under that limit. So you don't need to worry about how much money can you send. How much ever money you want to send, you can send. There are no the limits being so high, you may not really meet that threshold. So whatever are your tuition fees, whatever money you need for your living expenses, you can go to any bank, or you can use any foreign exchange services to send that money. Now, when you send money, right, there is something called as the rate, the exchange rate, which is the current exchange rate, and plus every foreign exchange service provider will charge you a markup on that, which eventually is their profit for doing that. So what happens is, this is my general observation, is that the markup that banks charge is comparatively slightly higher than the markup that some of these other foreign exchange services charge. Again, this may not always be the case. So I would recommend that, before you send money, also check with your bank. Sometimes, some banks like State Bank and all have slightly lower markups. Some private banks charge a higher markup, and the markups can be anywhere between, say, 35 paise to sometimes even as high as a rupee on every dollar. So, for example, if the dollar rate is 80, in that is the actual official exchange rate, you will, when you purchase dollars, or when you want to send money, the exchange rate that you would be offered would be, say, 80 rupees 35 paisa, or maybe 81 rupees, depending on the service provider that you opt for. There are many private foreign exchange services. There is the most popular, or the biggest one is ebix cash. Thomas Cook also is a very famous and a popular one, but some years back they had some problems. For some time they had shut down. They have restarted, so that is also a one. There is Uni Money. There is an online service provider like Book My Forex. So there are many of them. If you probably just Google out and find out forex services near me, you will find a lot of them. Western Union also does foreign exchange. So, and all of them are safe. If your thought process is which one is the safest, whether banks are more safer than your private foreign exchange, so not necessarily. All of them are equally safe. Whichever foreign exchange service you opt for is absolutely fine. All of them are regulated by RBI. That is, to have foreign exchange services. To offer foreign exchange services, you need to have either something known as the AD1, that is Authorized Dealer 1 or Authorized Dealer 2 license in India. AD1 license is generally given to banks only. And most of the 82 license private foreign exchange companies have 82 license. So all these foreign exchange services, I mean, in my experience, are safe enough. It's just a matter of what rate they are offering. So shop for, I mean, the best rate available. Generally, my experience is that Ebix Cash and Thomas Cook, when they used to do that earlier, I haven't recently checked Thomas Cook's rates and what are their offerings. They had pretty good rates. They were the cheapest one. Ebix today, as of today, is one of the biggest players in the Indian market in the foreign exchange. They are mostly in the commercial space, so you may not hear a lot about them, but they do do, I mean, individual foreign exchange services too. So you can definitely opt for them. Now, most of you had worked with this for your education loan. Some of you had worked with foreign admits. So they also offer foreign exchange services, and they also internally send money through Transwire. I mean, they have partnered with a company called Transwire, which is also a very large company in India, or globally a very large company in the foreign exchange space. They also offer competitive rates. Very recently, I came across one more company which is more startup in this space, and they are catering to only foreign exchange for students. It's known as Highway Pay. I will maybe over WhatsApp send you details of that company also. They are claiming that since this is their first year of as a startup, uh, they would not be charging you any markup mm, on the dollar rate that they get. So if they're actually purchasing dollars at maybe say at 81 rupees, they would actually sell you at 81 rupees as well. Might be they have some, they get some, they make their money somewhere, but that is what is their claim. You can definitely try them out. Like I said, all of them are safe. Which one should you try is more based on your own comfort level. Some people are very comfortable working only with banks because they have a trust factor involved there. Absolutely fine. If you want to try some of the other foreign exchange services, you are most welcome to do that. I can assure you that in my experience, I've never seen any kind of frauds happening in foreign exchange. I mean, the only thing that generally happens is in case you, while putting in the, when you have to actually put in the account details of your university where you want to send the money, or maybe your personal account, in case the account number is, there's a mistake or someone makes a mistake in putting the account number, 2 days later the money is credited back to your account. That is all that happens. Generally, all foreign exchange services take anywhere between say 48 to 72 hours for the money to get credited in the foreign account. So if you're sending money as tuition to the university, it would take for once the money is debited from your account, anywhere between 48 to 72 hours is what it would take for the money to get credited to the university's account. If you're sending money to your personal account, the same time is what it takes. It happens faster also, but generally most foreign exchange services and banks will tell you that it will take 48 to 72 hours. That is the maximum it takes. In many cases, it happens within 24 hours as well. But always when you're planning to send money, plan it such a way that you know that it would take 3 days, depending on weekends, holidays. Uh, so at least 3 days is what it would take for the money to get credited in the beneficiary's account. So, any questions that you have so far about for about the foreign exchange services, or do you want to know in detail how a foreign exchange service works, or anything? Okay, so let's talk. The first part we'll talk about is paying tuition fees to the university. Now, as a student, you would be paying tuition fee either from your own account. I mean, your, when I say own account, it could be your personal account, it could be your parents' account, or maybe someone's account who has an account in India. Or the other way would be to pay through an education loan. There are slight differences between that because what happens is when you're paying through an education loan, and if your education loan is through a bank or sometimes even a private lender, many times the banks would insist that you will have to send money directly to the university, and they will not give the money in your personal account, at least the part of the tuition fee. Now, in that case, when you're sending money directly to the university from a loan account, The bank would also insist that they will internally use their own foreign exchange services to do that. Okay. Honestly, as per the RBI guidelines, you need not use the bank's services only to send money to the university. I mean, you can still insist on uh, using your own private services for that. But many banks are slightly rigid about that. And I think in case you are taking an education loan, I think it is best to just go ahead and use the bank's service to pay money from the education loan if you are sending money directly to the university account. Okay, many banks will even not allow you to do that. I mean, then I mean, of course, you will have to take special permission and all that. But I would say rather than going through all that hassle, just use the bank service and get it done. For sending money from your own personal account, that is, if your parents have money in their account that they want to use to pay your tuition fee, or if they want to send it to your own personal account, when once you go there, you can open a bank account. We'll talk about bank accounts also a little later once we finish the foreign exchange part. Uh, so then you can use either the bank's foreign exchange or you can use any other private foreign exchange. Now, many universities nowadays work with companies like Flywire, or there is also WU Pay, that is Western Union Global Pay, through which they want you to make payments. Now, these are more like payment gateways that the universities have opted for. And what Flywire does, or even Western Union, Money Global Payments, what they provide is these companies have partnered with the universities. So if your university has partnered with uh, one such foreign exchange services, you will have to use their services to make the payment. In that case, you will be given two options. One is it will say, do you want to pay through in Indian rupees, or do you want to pay directly in US dollars? So you will have to select the currency. For example, if $10,000 are the tuition fee to be paid to a university, when you say for maybe for the first semester, as an example, once you go to the Flywire link, or once you go to the Western Union Global Pay link, which the university will provide you, it will ask you how much is the tuition you want to pay. It will ask you for your student ID and all the other details, and then it will. I mean, one of the options there in the very beginning is whether you want to pay in Indian rupees or you want to pay in US dollars. In fact, it will give you three or four different currencies in which you want to pay. Uh, if you select Indian rupees, what effectively happens is that they have partnered with Indian players, so with Indian foreign exchange services. So now they have their own presence in India, most of them. Western Union and Flywire now both have presence in India. So they will then give you an account number, either an HDFC Bank account number or an Axis Bank account number, or mostly it is ICICI or HDFC Bank, where you will be asked to pay the money. So if it's $10,000 is what you want to pay, they will convert and say, okay, you have to pay say 8 lakhs something to so and so Indian account, and you can then do an NEFT. If it's some of them have a list of banks which they have partnered with, where you can directly pay using net banking. That is, if you have an account in, or the money is say in your HDFC Bank, you could directly, it would give you a link where you can say I'm paying through HDFC Bank, and it would directly redirect you to an HDFC Bank net banking web page. You log in and authorize and just pay, and the money gets deducted from your HDFC Bank immediately. If your money is in a bank that these companies are not working with, then the other option would be they would give you an account details of their bank account in India, and you will have to do a NEFT. So you can either do it from your net banking facility, or you could go to your bank and tell your bank to do that. If you are paying through a education loan, now sometimes what happens is some of these banks in India insist that they will not make any payments to the university in Indian rupees. They would rather want to pay directly to the university in dollars. In that case, what you will have to do is instead of saying that I would like to pay in Indian rupees, you will have to select that I would like to pay in US dollars. And then at the end of once you fill in all the details, it will give you a US bank account where your bank will have to make the payment. So then you will have to carry the what you call as the a slip that they would generate for you. Take it to your bank and tell your bank that I mean tell your loan company or your bank, which wherever who has issued you an education loan, that this is an account that I want to pay, and you can directly pay money to. They will then transfer that money to your from your loan account to the account whichever is mentioned on that payment slip. So that is how the process would work. I think there are some questions here. I'll just read those. What is the best way to pay first month house rent and deposit from India? Hmm. So I think Neeraj has a question. What is the best way to pay first month house rent and deposit from India? And the follow-up question for that is Rohan is do we need to pay first month rent before immigration? So see, this is not required for immigration. Um, you don't have to pay first month rent for immigration. There are no requirements of any. You don't even have to pay fees for immigration, right? For immigration, you only need your passport and I-20 and nothing else. They are not really going to ask you anything, whether you have paid the fees, whether you have an apartment, where you are going to stay, where will you go after you leave the airport. It is nobody's business out there. So nobody is going to ask you all that. But yes, I think in in Neeraj's case, if you are booking an apartment right in advance and the house owner or the apartment company wants you to make the payment of deposit and first month rent to confirm your booking, you will then have to pay. So it depends on whether you have booked an apartment, whether you have not booked an apartment. Again, not a mandatory thing. It's up to you and up to the your choices. But if you have to pay that, then I would say, Neeraj, and if you are paying that money from your own personal account, that is, you are paying it from your own or someone in your family member's account, then using a maybe what you say a foreign exchange service would be really the cheapest way to do that. Um, I would say, Neeraj, since you are already in touch with I think you are with the foreign admits team, and you can just contact them and tell them I want to make so and so amount of dollars payment to the universe for my housing, and they will help you do that.
Okay, okay,
Okay. Their rates, since foreign exchange works with, like I said, they work with Transwire. Their rates are very competitive. I wouldn't say they are. I mean, they are one of the cheapest. I would say. I wouldn't say that they are very expensive or anything. So go ahead and request them, and they will do that. Generally, I have personally used their services, and they the payment happens within 24 hours to 48 hours. Of course,
okay,
if it's a
okay,
working day, if you make the payment on a Saturday or something, then it would be Monday by the time it gets credited. But this is how it would work.
okay,
Okay. The way it would work is right. I mean, with any foreign exchange service, see, the first thing is that you need to understand that it is not as simple, or rather, not as straightforward as paying someone in India. Any foreign exchange service will first ask you for a set of documents of the pay. I mean, whoever is going to make be the whose account is the money going to go from. So if it's maybe your parents' account or if it's your own account, you will have to provide PAN card, Aadhaar card, a passport copy of the student, right? The reason why they ask you for the passport copy of the student, they would is because there are different TCS rules, that is tax deducted at source rules. So if you are paying money for students and if you are paying money otherwise, right? So they need to know what is the reason for the payment. In your case, Neeraj, when you are paying for an apartment and say maybe let's assume your father is going to pay, that is the money is in your father's account and it's going to go from your parents, one of your parents' account. They will have to provide your passport copy because you are the student. They will also have to provide proof of admission or a visa, student visa, whichever is available. If you don't have a student visa yet, I mean, in most cases you have student visas, but in case your student visa is not yet ready because your interview is not done or for whatever reasons, you can provide an admit letter or I-20 of the university to show, justify that you are basically sending this money for an apartment that a student will be staying during his or her stay. Now, after providing all these documents, the foreign exchange services will generally generate what is known as an A2 form, which they'll put in all these details and generate an A2 form. They'll send it to you. You will have to sign, you in the sense the person I mean, who is sending the money, from whose account that money is going, will have to sign this form. This is a declaration required by the RBI. Now, if in this form, they will also ask you if there are any previous foreign exchange transactions that you have made in this financial year, uh, any large amount, I mean, money you have sent. Because if the total amount in a year exceeds 7 lakhs, they will have to also deduct or add TCS to that amount. So, for example, if you are sending 10 lakhs now, if that is the amount you will have to send, and this is the first time you are sending it, you will have to pay TCS on that 3 lakhs. So 5% is the TCS when you're sending money from your own account, and it will be 0.5% if the money is coming through an education loan. Even if the money is coming from an education loan, for example, if your education loan provider has said, okay, you can use any Forex, what they would do is they would put the money in your bank account, and then from that bank account, you will have to send. Now, if you show proof that the money has come from an education loan, that is an education sanction letter, these foreign exchange services will only deduct TCS of 0.5%. So once you provide all these documents, most of these companies will then send you a link on your email, which will show the exact amount that you need to pay. You will have to click on that link, and if you work with one of, like I said, the link generally will have either you will have two options. One is you pay directly through net banking, but then of course the bank that you have the money with should be partnered with that foreign exchange provider, and if that is the case, you can directly pay through that bank. If it's not partnered with the bank, say your money is in one of the in with a bank which is not partnered with that foreign exchange service payment gateway, then it will give you a bank account in India where you will have to make a go to the bank or go to your net banking and do an NEFT. Like you'll have to add them as a payee and do all that and get it done. Generally, once a receipt is generated by the or the payment link is generated, they give you up to 48 hours to make the payment. If you don't make the payment within 48 hours, then sometimes the exchange rate that they have offered you will not be valid. You will have to start the process all over again. They will have, because every day the rupee dollar exchange rate or any foreign currency exchange rate changes. So based on the rate that is available at that day that they make the booking, that rate is generally valid in most cases for up to 48 hours. So you should make, once you get the link, you should make the payment within 48 hours. My recommendation is preferably do it immediately so that the money gets deducted immediately, and within 24 to 48 hours the money gets credited to your beneficiary's account. Okay. um, so that is how you will be sending money from India to abroad. um, the next thing is, now if you want to send money to your personal account, um, again, now before we get into all that, right, so as far as some students, someone actually 2 days back asked me this, whether it is necessary that whatever you have declared to the university while getting your I-20, or maybe you have showed money to told the visa officer about how will you pay for your education, should the money be coming from that same account? Now, the answer to that is no. It can be from any account. It can be anybody who wants to pay your tuition fee and pay your living expenses can do that. There is no restriction that the money should come from the same account or the same source that you showed to the university for getting an I-20. All that is history now. The university will not bother where the money comes from as long as they get their tuition fee on time. So don't worry about the fact that maybe you had shown something to, maybe you shown your parents' account, but now you want paying from someone else's account. All that is absolutely fine. It can be from an, if you're paying from a US account directly, then you don't need to go through any of these foreign exchange services. You can, it's like the way you pay someone in India, you just someone can directly pay online via, I mean, what is known as the net banking, or maybe you can directly do a direct transfer. Just hold on, my laptop is losing battery. I forgot to connect the charger. I thought it was on full charge. Give me a minute, I'll be back. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. So now the next thing that you will need is sending money for your own personal expenses. Again, if the way to do this is, for that you have two or three options. So one is, of course, what is popularly known as a forex card. Um, so there are again various forex cards available in the Indian market. Most banks will issue you a forex card. A forex card, and most banks, what they do is, when they issue you a forex card is typically a card which is a prepaid card. So what it means is that, say for example, you go to a State Bank of India and tell them I want a forex card. What they will give you is a Visa card, and then they'll ask you how much money do you want to load on this card. So you tell them that I want to load, say $2,000. So effectively, you are basically buying $2,000, putting it on that card, and then your card is valid for up to $2,000. You can swipe your card in any outlet, or maybe use it for making online payment just as a regular debit card, and up to $2,000 it will work. Say for example, you go there, maybe you buy some groceries for say $200. So $200 will get deducted from the card. The balance remaining would be then 1,800, and so on. So till the card reaches zero, or till you have sufficient balance on that card, the card will work. Once it is out of balance, or maybe the balance is too low, and you're not able to use that balance, or you might still be able to, but generally the last few cents on that might remain, and either you will have the option of reloading that card, or you just destroy that card and throw it away. That is what, those are the two options. In most cases, what I recommend is that if you're taking a forex card, and you can take a forex card, there's no harm in that. Again, a very safe thing. Don't load too much money on it. Maybe 1,000 to max, I would say $2,000 max is what you can load on that card, is what I would recommend. $2,000 is a good amount to load. Use that card maybe in the very first 2 3 months. Use that card as much as you can, finish it off, and destroy that card, throw it away. Because once you go to the US, you will open a bank account. You will need to have a bank account, which you can open in the very first week. And then eventually, and in the very first week, you will also get your own debit card from the bank. So once you get your debit card, start using that card rather than using the prepaid forex card. So effectively, after that, say maybe first you have to do $2,000, and your parents need to send you another $10,000 for your entire year or semester of living and all that. They can directly send money to your bank account rather than loading it on the card. The advantage. Uh, okay, what are the charges on the Forex card is one of the questions here. Now, there are no charges on the Forex card, in the sense, that is the reason why you should be using a Forex card and not your personal credit card or debit card that you get in India, because every time you swipe an Indian debit card or an Indian credit card abroad, there are going to be charges on it. For example, if say you buy something for $10 in the US, if you're buying it on a prepaid forex card, $10 will only be deducted from that account. But if you're buying it on an Indian card, it will be $10 converted to Indian rupees. Plus, there will be anywhere between 1 to 3% of service charges that your bank in India will charge on foreign currency transactions. So now that you're going to use this more often, I generally don't recommend using your Indian debit cards or credit cards, because you might end up paying a very high transaction fee. Now, now the first time, okay, now the next question I think is, okay, you mean the charges on buying that, loading that card for the first time. Again, when loading that card, there are no charges. But again, it also depends on what is the dollar conversion rate that the bank or the foreign exchange service is offering you. Say for example, today that, again, it's the same as buying dollars upfront, and everyone will charge you some markup on it, right? So it's the same thing again. So a bank will charge you slightly higher, like you go to an HDFC bank, they would charge you a markup. And if you go to some, maybe an ebix, they will also charge you a markup. But sometimes ebix ka markup I have seen is around the 35 paisa per dollar. Banks charge anywhere between 80 paisa to 1 rupee per dollar. So it's just that you will get a forex card, maybe some, it depends on what is the markup that you charge, they charge you. So Uh, yes, so the markup is basically only on the currency exchange rate. So if you're buying $2,000 and if the dollar rate is 80 rupees, so it will be the actual dollar is 1,60,000, but you might have to pay some few thousand rupees extra as per, because nobody is going to offer you a dollar a conversion of 80. It would be 80.25, it would be 80.35, some banks would say 80.75, and that. So whatever is the dollar conversion rate on that day, that is the amount that you will have to pay to the bank and get your dollar card. Generally, once you pay the money, within 2 days you will get the card delivered to your home, or sometimes you will have to go to the bank and collect it if you're using one of the foreign exchange services like ebix, or say we make for we sorry we book my forex kind of thing. You will they deliver the card at your once you make the payment, they will deliver the card by express courier to your home address. So generally within 2 days you get those cards. So whenever you are planning, maybe if you are planning to leave around the say 10th of August, or that is the tentative date, 10th to 15th of August, doing this somewhere around the end of July or first week of August, or even if you do it now, the card would be just be with you. Most of these cards have a validity of 1 year. Sometimes it might be they might have some things that you should at least start using it within 6 months, uh, and then after that it is valid for 1 year or 2 years, or how much ever. You can check on that, on how much time do you get to actually exhaust that card. Generally that time limit is very high, so you don't really need to, and generally the time limit is not to exhaust that card but to start using that card. So within 6 months you have to swipe it at least once or something, is what some cards would have a precondition on it. But generally those are not really big concerns that you should have. The only time you will be charged money or extra is on those cards is that when you withdraw money from an ATM on that card. Like say for example, if you withdraw $100 from an ATM, it will deduct some $102 from your account. So only with ATM withdrawals are charged extra per transaction. Whereas if you are swiping that card in maybe say a restaurant or a grocery store or wherever you're using your card, maybe to make your apartment rent payments, you can use that to make your university fee payments also if you have loaded a lot of money on that card. But for university fee payments, you can directly send money to the university account rather than putting it on the card. But you can do that. I mean, that is an option that you have. So for all those, whatever is the amount that I mean your retailer or whoever is the merchant charges. So if it's $100 charge, they would charge 100. But for ATM withdrawals, there is a transaction fee. About the ebix thing, and Thomas Cook also, I don't know if Thomas Cook still has that offer, but ebix has this offer that uh, three transactions, three ATM withdrawals per month are free. Free in the sense there is no extra charge on it. So for if 3 times you withdraw $200 or something from your card, they will not deduct any extra payments. And this is only for students. So this is a student offer that they are running currently. But if you withdraw it for the fourth time in a month, then on that $200, they might charge you some $202 or $203 or something like that. So that is how this forex cards work. There is another card that many students have been asking about is the Neo Global card. A lot of students have messaged me asking is what is can I go for a Neo forex card or not? Again, so technically Neo is a little different from these forex cards, because in the case of Neo, it is still an Indian card, and what you have to do is how it works is that it is like you are opening a bank account with an Indian bank, which is either they work with three banks now. One is I think Equitas Small Finance Bank, DCB, and then I think SMB, which is um, so which was I think the State Bank of Mauritius thing. Now some months back, so earlier they used to work only with SMB, State Bank, SBM, sorry, State Bank of Mauritius, and they ran into some problems. SBM ran into some problems with RBI, and RBI kind of cancelled their license in India, uh, or put some restrictions on their what they could do in India. I'll put it that way. So Neo cards were kind of suspended for some days. They started again. It is not that people lost their money or anything. Uh, but there were for few days they had to temporarily suspend operations. But with Neo, what happens is how their model works is it is basically an Indian bank account that you open, and then whenever you can put money in your bank account in India. So for example, you put 1 lakh in the Indian bank account with the Neo people. With say you open an account with DCB or Equitas or whichever bank. Now, when you use your forex card abroad, say you shop for say something like $100, $100 converted to Indian rupees is what is going to be deducted from your Indian bank account, and that amount would depend on the dollar rate at that particular day. What Neo claims is that they don't charge any markups on the money that gets deducted. Like for example, if you're shopping for $100, and if $100 converted, the Google rate for $100 today is say 8,000 rupees, only 8,000 would be deducted from your bank account, is what they claim. So they say that we don't have any forex markups, and that is how the Neo forex card works. It's just that you still have to maintain that Indian bank account. And then again, whenever they said that you can also withdraw money from that Indian bank account. That was a feature that was there, but I don't know if that is still there. Like you can use your forex card in India also. So you maybe shop for say 1,000 rupees in maybe in a restaurant in India and use your Neo card. You can. It's like as good as any Indian bank card, right? Any Indian bank debit card. So that is how Neo works. It is just that every time you use your Neo card, you are actually paying at the dollar rate at that moment. And it is not that like the other prepaid cards are like you're already buying the purchasing dollars. And so you have some maybe $2,000 on loaded on that card, and you can swipe it for up to uh, dollars till you finish exhaust the $2,000. You can keep swiping that card. Similarly, for the Neo card, as long as there is money in your Indian account, it will work. If you try to shop for something like $5,000 and that much money is not there on your Indian bank account in the Neo account, that card will not work. It will say insufficient balance. So this is all about cards. Now again, which card to go for, which is the best card is something that I would say I would leave it up to your discretion to take that call. Whatever is your comfort level. My recommendation is generally buy forex cards where you're loading money one time, go ahead, use it, finish it off, and then get rid of it. You don't really have to keep maintaining that Indian account. But even if you do, from a safety point of view or anything, I would not say one is safer or one is better than the other. It all depends on, of course, the dollar rate that you are getting. And in case of Neo, say maybe you purchase today dollars at say 80 rupees per dollar or 82 rupees per dollar. Maybe 1 month down the line, when you're using a Neo card, the dollar falls. You might end up spending less money. But if it increases, you might end up spending more money. That's all about it. With once you actually purchase dollars upfront, then you don't get really affected whether the dollar rate has increased, decreased, or whatever. That's just a gamble. Just a minute, I'll check. So again, here it is. Like I said, when this is what the thing was with Neo debit, global debit cards. They are. It is not that it is not really recommended, but that is how it kind of works, right? So basically, that is an Indian bank's card, and like I said, only in the past, since they had a problem with one of their banks that they were working with, and it was not the card's problem; it was the banks that they worked with. Is because they are not really very big and popular banks, and like I said, the State Bank of Mauritius they had a problem with because RBI had suspended their license. The card stopped working for some time, for some days. But it's not that people lost their money; they could still recover. I mean, it was not that they cheated anybody, kind of thing. But since it's always linked to the current dollar rate, it may not be the most effective thing to do. I mean, you may not. It is not always prove to be the most cost-effective thing. It all depends, like I said, on the dollar rate when you make that transaction. So that's why my recommendation is just buy a card where you have already purchased dollars, so you are really not worried about what is the dollar rate and how much gets deducted from your account. Again, like I said, coming to safety, security, and all that, all are equally safe. If you are going to the US, and most of you are US aspirants, a Visa or Mastercard is good. If for Europe, many outlets in Europe now don't have support Visa, so a Mastercard is better if you're going to traveling to Europe. But for US, I think anywhere anything is okay. And most of these banks or foreign exchange will sell you both. But even if they have only Visa, that is also absolutely fine. You will generally not run into so many problems saying a Visa is not accepted in the US anywhere. Almost all outlets now accept Visa cards, so that is how this works. If you want, you can also purchase cash, but I would say keep it very small while traveling. If you want to purchase cash, it is a good idea to have some cash, maybe maximum of $500. For sometimes, at airports or maybe vending machines and all that, cards may not be accepted, and because in at US airports, even trolleys are not free. You might need they might charge you $1 per trolley if you need a trolley, and you will mostly need, given that you will have at least have two big suitcases. So right from the baggage claim till the sometimes to the your cabs, or in some most airports may not have free trolleys, so you might have to put in $1 in the to purchase a trolley. So for these small transactions, sometimes having cash is always handy. uh, Cash is accepted everywhere in the US, so you don't need to worry about it. Mm. Yeah, so like I said, trolleys can be got out using cards, but in case, for some things you need cash, keep some cash, not a very high. Maximum I would say is say $500. That is the maximum. You may not need so much cash at all, but in case you want to carry cash, that is the maximum amount, and carry in small denomination. Don't just carry five notes of $100 each. So small denominations would be good. So even if you carry 200 200 $250 cash, that is good enough. You will not need cash. Cards are safer and better. Earlier, students used to carry what is known as traveler's checks. I don't think anybody does that now. So let's not get into. So they are like prepaid checks where you can write it in anybody's name. But that is all. I think I don't know if they still issue traveler's checks, but if they do, I would not recommend going in for traveler's checks and all that at this moment. Uh, any questions? Let me just check. Uh, Yash has a question. Yash, is there a process of discontinuing a Forex card? So the way to discontinue the Forex card is ideally just use that Forex card and finish it off. Right? If it's a neo bank card, then of course you will have to officially close your bank account in India, or just finish off the balance. And if it's a zero balance account, then fine. Just if it's inactive for many months, they will automatically send you a mail and maybe you might close it. I don't know what is their process. But if it's a prepaid forex card where you already paid say $1,000 or $2,000 and loaded that forex card, just finish off that money and get it done with. But what you can't do with forex cards is that you can't transfer that balance to a bank account. Like say if you have $2,000 loaded on the forex card, you will not be able to transfer that $2,000. Maybe say use $500 and you say, okay, the remaining $1,500 you can transfer it to your US bank account. That will not be possible. It has to be used at merchants. I mean, at maybe for your shopping and other places. Uh, Ishan has a question. Oh no, I think before that, I think Vasudha has a question. Why we should switch from a forex card to a US based debit card? Uh, so it is not the question. Why should you switch? See, when you go to the US, you will need a US bank account. So it is kind of necessary that you have a bank account for all practical purposes, because not all payments can be made through card. Some might for some purposes, and also if you have to receive money from someone, maybe if you have to get a student job, or let's hope all of you do get student jobs, RAs, TAs and all that, and eventually your internship. So for all practical purposes, you will need a US bank account where either someone can pay you, or if you have to pay someone, you will need that account. All US banks come with a debit card. Correct. So my only thing is that you don't really need this forex card where someone has to load money on that forex card every time you finish that money. So suppose you put in $2,000 now, you are exhausted, you will have to ask your parents to load money again to that account. Possible, I mean, that is a feature that all forex cards have. So anytime you can load money on that card. But rather than doing all that, it is better to switch to a forex to a US debit card, or start using your debit card more. One more thing, one more issue is that let's assume that there is some fraudulent transaction, or there is some issue that about a transaction that you will need to report on your any card. I mean, it could be a debit card, for credit card kind of thing. If it's a US bank or a US credit card that you are using, it becomes simple for you to do that. Now, because your forex card was initially going to be initiated in India, I mean, carrying out that entire communication, getting that issue resolved might be a little tedious. So that's the reason, one of the reasons why I say that just shift to a US. Eventually, anyway, you will have a bank account and the bank will give you a debit card. It's not something that you have to get extra. So if you already have a debit card, just start using that. Eventually, you might also get US credit cards because that will help you build credit history in the US. So that's the only thing. Um, so yes, again, acha, before that, I'll move to check Ishan's question. If you want to if you want to transfer some amount from an Indian account to our US account for a non-academic expenditure, is a 5% tax deducted if the amount does not originate from an education loan. See, till October 1st, I think the tax is going to be 5% if it's not going to be from an education loan. Beyond October 1st, I mean, this was supposed to be from 1st of July, but then now they postponed it till the 1st of October. If you cannot, what do you say? Um, uh, mm, okay, cannot justify that the money is going to be used for educational purposes, the tax is going to be 20%. If you can justify that the money is going to be used for educational purposes, and even now the tax is only 5%, that too if the amount sent by the pay is more the exceeds 7 lakhs in that financial year. So for the up to the first 7 lakhs there is no tax, uh, but beyond that you will have to pay 5% if the money is not coming from an education. And currently, there is for any foreign exchange transaction, it is 5%. So if you are sending money to a friend, or for whatever reasons, right, maintenance of a close relative can be one of the clauses that they have. It is still 5% beyond the 7 lakh amount. So even otherwise, right, even after October 1st, if your parents are sending money to you, or if someone is sending money to you, if they can show that you are a student, if they can probably prove that you are a student by showing your copy of your passport, visa, your, what do you say, your admit letters, the banks will still deduct only 5% and not 20%. So that is what the provision provided for. So basically, you have to show that this money is going to be used by the student for educational purposes.
And in extension to the doubt that I asked, if the amount originates from an education loan, then the TCS is even lower, is it?
It is 0.5%.
So is it recommended that for any amount transfer from India to US, whether it be for tuition fees or just for our expenditure, is it better to always do through education loan amount, because then the amount lost will be less? Is that, does it work that way, or is there some?
Uh, Technically, it is not amount lost. Okay, it is basically amount that you are paying to the government as income tax, which will be finally adjusted when you file your tax returns against your total tax liability.
Okay.
Okay, so effectively what it does is, like, what how it works is that, say, suppose you paid say 10 lakhs you are sending now, and let's say 5% is the tax that you pay, right? So basically 50,000 is what you are going to pay. This money is going to be paid to the Indian government as is like an advance tax. At the end of the financial year, whoever account the money has been deducted from, like if your one of your parent is sending you money, if their total tax liability for the entire year is coming to say 5 lakhs, and then in the system they show that 50,000 has already been paid, so then they only pay the balance amount. Or if they have paid more, right, say for example you pay from your own account, you you are a student, you pay from your own personal account, and you are paid 50,000 to the government as tax. Uh, at the end of the year, you file your income tax returns. Because you don't have any income in that year, you will be eligible for a complete 50,000 of refund from income tax refund from the government. So it is technically not money lost. It is just an upfront additional cash flow burden that you will have to incur. So
Okay.
just for that, paying through an education loan, of course, if you have an education loan and you think that is much wiser, do that. But effectively, the amount of interest that you might pay to the bank for an education loan might be much higher than the amount of, if you calculate, okay, yes, you are blocking this money, like say 5% of the amount, you are blocking it and paying to the government in advance. It's just, I don't think it will be a big loss as such. So because this is something that is not going to get lost, it's, you are going to get it back, or it's going to be adjusted against the tax liability of the person who's paying.
Yes, got it now. Thanks. And then just an extension to the question. So, is it recommended that large sums of money like tuition fee, etc., tuition fee or rent be paid through the education loan, and small amounts be uh, paid by whoever is supporting you from India? Is that how it is
Uh,
typically done?
Again, that is something that you and your family, it see, basically don't think of it in terms of okay, don't let foreign exchange rules make that decision, right?
Okay.
Ideally, say suppose you're going to spend say 50 lakhs over the next 2 years on your education, let's assume, right? So now whether you want to use your parents money or you want to pay through a loan, it depends on how much money your parents have and what kind of returns are they getting on their investments, right? If most, my recommendation is, most of the money is going to be lying in fixed deposits earning them around 6 to 7%, then it's better to use that money, um, rather than take an education loan and pay an interest of anywhere around 10% on that, right? So it's like you have, but then if you think no, you might need your personal funds, your parents might need the personal funds for other plans, they have other investment plans, or maybe just as emergency you don't want to spend that money, or you just want to take the responsibility of your education and pay through an education loan, go ahead with an education loan. Just because there is going to be TCS or foreign exchange rules or whatever it is, I would say that should not be the decision making factor on whether to pay from a loan or whether to pay from your personal funds.
All right, got it. Thank you.
So on similar terms, I have one more doubt.
Hmm.
So each parent can do like up to 7 lakhs. So there would be no TCS charge, right?
Right. So
Or it
each
is.
parent or anybody for that matter, you have a brother, sister, your account. So if you say you have to pay, say 20 lakhs in the year, right?
Yeah.
So 7 lakhs can come from your father's account, 7 lakhs can come from your mother's account, and then the remaining 6 lakhs can come from your own personal account. Like you're paying
Okay.
for your
Okay.
own self, right? The total, and this is the total foreign exchange. It's not just paying fees or anything, right? So if you pay fees of say 5 lakhs, if you pay for your living cost for another 5 lakhs, it will still be counted as 10 lakhs in the financial year.
Okay.
So
So
total 7 lakhs,
basically,
yes, if you can.
HDFC is giving us like in our account. So even if I do the transfers in my US account, it would be considered as a foreign exchange, right?
Right, right. Anything, any money that you send abroad or any money that you load on the forex card will be considered as foreign exchange. Any cash you buy is foreign exchange.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so if you can keep, if you can juggle and manage to keep everybody's on each PAN card, right? Every PAN card holder, because that TCS calculation is recorded against your PAN number. So each PAN card holders, you can keep it below 7 lakhs, then you will not have any TCS. You don't have to pay any TCS. 7 lakhs in a financial year. That is how it is.
Okay. Okay. Sure, sir. Thank you.
So, what are the best ways, Swapnil? I mean, I think I don't know whether you joined late or not, but like we discussed, the best way is to put some money in, load some money on your forex card, purchase a forex card. I would say $2,000 is a good amount to have on the forex card. You can keep it more, you can keep it less also, but on an average, I would generally recommend 2,000 is sufficient to get you through at least the first few months. At least 1 or 2 months is what you can survive on $2,000. Not for your tuition, but at least for your living cost. And then The remaining money that you need for your living expenses, the best way is to wire transfer from your Indian bank or your loan account to the your US bank account directly.
Okay. Sure, sir. Yeah.
So, I mean, there is one question here by Mr. Tiwade. If money is transferred from your foreign account to other foreign account, what's the tax? I mean, if you are asking, I mean, I understand you are in Germany and you're talking about transferring from Germany to the US.
Correct.
So then there is no tax. At least I don't know that you will have to check with your German banks. But if you are liable for any tax in Germany, but I don't think there are any taxes for other countries. Don't charge this TCS. So you are not liable to pay any tax if the money is not in Indian rupees. If it's already in some foreign bank account, then there is no tax on that. Um, okay, coming to US bank accounts, right? So what generally happens, the traditional way of, and this is also what most students do even now. Once you actually go to the US and you attend your orientation and do your registration, most universities will have, as part of their orientation and registration process, also the formality of opening a bank account for you. There are almost all universities have banks on campus. That is, it might be a small counter or rather a small extension or center of a bank, on their campus. Generally, one bank or two banks, depending on the university, and those bank officials generally, as part of the orientation process for international students, especially, help you open a bank account. So all they will need is your proof of registration with the university that the university will give you, or sometimes they will ask you to give your student card. Nowadays, sometimes some universities, as part of your student card itself, is what do you say, a cash card, where you can, it is linked to your bank account, where you can swipe your student card which might have a visa on it, or sometimes they'll give you another visa card as part of the bank account. So they will help you open a bank account. So you can do that. That is one way. There are now also virtual bank accounts that have popped up. A virtual bank account is where these banks don't have physical offices. Um, so you can open a bank account with a virtual bank. So it will be as good as a bank account. It's just that you don't have any bank physical bank where you can walk in. So all your transactions will be net banking, through, I mean, telecalling. They will issue a debit card or a credit card also in some cases, and that is how they work. One very popular one in India that does a lot of advertisement in India is Zolve. This company called Zolve. Zolve is also a bank account. Is also, I mean, a virtual bank. And Zolve, since they are promoting their services in India, they would let you open a bank account even before you start, even before you leave for the US. So even today, you can log in and open a US bank account. They and then, like any other US bank account, it will be like a proper bank. You'll have a bank number, you'll have a account number, and you can anytime transfer money from your Indian bank account to that account. The same rules, same foreign exchange rules, same TCS rules will apply whether you are transferring money to a bank account at a physical bank. Say you go to the US, where you open a bank account in a Wells Fargo bank, or you open a bank account with Zolve. It's all the same. You only thing that you will have to check, and with Zolve, the way it works is that, once you can open a bank account anytime. You can open it even today. But once you reach the US, you will have to tell them about a physical address where they will send you your bank debit card, and I think they also send you a checkbook, kind of thing. So until you are actually in the US, you will not get that, which is fair enough, because they want you to give it. You can put money in that account even today, right? So you can open a bank account, put say $5,000 or $10,000 in that account. You can see it online, but you will only get your debit card after you reach the US, which effectively means that you can start using your account once you have landed in the US. To activate that account or for you to use it, they might, or rather for you to send the passport, sorry, the debit card and all that, they will need a US address. So, which is your, wherever you decide to take up your apartment, you can then go ahead and give it to them, and then they will send it to you. So again, whether to go with Zol or to go with the traditional bank account is up to you. Um, Zolve has some added. I mean, I was just checking their website yesterday, and they have some added features that they are saying that. Of course, it's a zero balance account, and most now the only thing is that most banks in the US may not offer you a zero balance account. There will be some minimum balance of say $100 or $150, which is generally a small amount that you will have to maintain in that account, which is fair enough. Only in case of US banks have this very weird rule that if you are above 25 years old, or I think about 26 years old in some cases, depending on the state you are in, then the minimum balance is $750. So just make sure you check with your bank on what is the minimum balance before you open an account. Maybe you can that information will be available on the bank's website also. So if you know, and of course you know which university you are going to, you can check with the students there on which are the banks on campus that are available, and once you can check the this thing. Generally, they will give it will be a very small balance if you are below 25, but if you're above 25, then the minimum balance is something which is high. I don't know if Zol also has something similar, but you can check with them as well on the minimum balance. Is it linked to your age? Because in most US banks, that is something that you is linked to your age. And if you are not yet 25, then that should not be a problem. Uh, okay, I think Yash here has. So again, is it really necessary to open a bank account while you are in India, or you can just go there and wait to do it? Whatever you decide is absolutely fine. Don't really be too tensed and about all these factors. My recommendation is go there and open a bank account. It really doesn't matter. Uh, Things happen fast. Within a week, you will have your debit card and checkbook ready, sent to you. Sometimes they would give you a temporary checkbook that you can start using if you really have to, and otherwise you will get it there. But if you want to go ahead with a company like Zol, there could be others also. I know Leap Finance was planning to come up with a bank account. I'm not sure if they have or not. I haven't checked their website. If someone has, then maybe they might be able to shed some light. If you know some other names of other, you can share that as well. Who open these virtual bank accounts? All of them are safe, so don't worry too much about it. I think Zol also gives you what is called as a credit card. I mean it's a normal credit card, but generally most US companies will give you a credit card only if you have a social security number. Uh, Zol says that they will give you a credit card and that will help you build your credit history also as you start using that credit card. Again, not something that you really need to lose sleep about. If you build credit history, don't build credit history, and all those things really don't matter. At least as a student, for the first 2 years, you will not, you should not be so worried about that. So those are not really some major issues that you need to be thinking of. But if you take it, it's fine. If you don't, also, it's not something that you're going to miss out on something big. Anything is okay. Whatever you decide is fine on that part. Any other questions on bank accounts? Your credit card, debit cards.
Jed,
Yeah.
what's Zol? Is it ZOLL?
No, Zolve. Zolve.
Zolve. And how reliable the Zolve is?
So, I mean, when I know students who have been using it, mm, it is kind of reliable unless see. I mean, the big problem with most of the some of the startups is that they overnight sometimes shut down. You never know what's happening at
Okay.
the. But then there has been history of even banks shutting down in the US. So
Yeah, I understood.
it is very
Thanks.
difficult
I
to say
got it.
how reliable it is. They are also insured in the sense they at least on their website or as per the guidelines they are insured up to a certain amount like $150,000 like you have right. Any amount below that, if you have less than that much amount of money in your bank in that account, it will be the insurance will rather pay you in case that bank goes bankrupt. So almost all banks are insured to a certain limit for savings account. So similarly, Zol will also they claim that they are insured. So in case something happens to them, if eventually you will get the money, but how good are they financially or whether they are very stable or not is really I don't know about. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions about? Uh, finances, I mean, sorry, your forex transfers. I think Yash had one question. I think I missed out. Um, the expense of cost of living or rent, can it be justified? It's yes. So yes. So initially, when this whole during the budget, when the finance minister came out with the proposal of only including educational and medical expenses under the 5% TCS, or that, and everything other than that will be charged 20%. There was a lot of confusion about how do you, what would happen for students whose parents are sending money to their personal bank account for their rent and other living expenses, whether they would be charged at 20% or that would still be considered as living expenses. Initially, the uh, government officials, I mean, the official statement was that that will not be considered as living expenses. But there were a lot of, I mean, appeals made, and finally, that is going to be considered as living expenses. So now, when you transfer, say, for example, someone asked a question about they want to send money to book an apartment, right? So if you're sending money to book an apartment, and if you can justify that this money is sent to book an apartment for a student, that is, you will have to provide proof of a visa copy, or maybe an admit letter, or the I-20, and of course the apartment should be close to that university, right? So if you can justify that, most banks will now, or the foreign exchange providers will deduct TCS on the same rate for that they provide for educational expenses. So this will all come under educational expenses now. Even parents sending money to your personal account for your education will be treated as educational expenses only. So you will be paying TCS at the lower rate that is set aside for educational expenses. Again, to avoid TCS, the amount should be less than 7 lakhs per person in a financial year. If it is beyond that, there will be TCS of 5%. If it's paying through a personal account, if it's paying through an education loan, it is 0.5. You can't, even today, I mean, even till last year also, the 5% TCS on 7 lakhs and above and 0.5 for education loan was still applicable. It is just that now they made it 20% on all other transactions. That is when a lot of people started thinking about it, and it came in a lot into limelight. But even otherwise, still all these years there was TCS of 5% applicable on money sent for any purpose to the any purpose abroad. So Mir, can you get a Zoll credit card without their bank account? I don't think so. I think it's all part of their package, but again, you can check with them. I'm not so familiar with their all their product details, but you can definitely check. They have an Indian number that you can just call and ask and see if they can only give you a credit card, if that is a feature that they are offering. But if yes, then go ahead and do that. Swapnil, you have a question?
So on a similar front, I have a question. So ideally, what should be the disbursement amount that we should take for the first time before like flying?
Right. So the first thing is, as far as for your initial expenses, I would say $2,000 to $2,500 should be enough for your initial expenses. That will at least take you through the month, and then once you open a bank account, you can then ask your parents to put in, I mean, or the education loan provider to put in more money in that account, enough for at
Okay.
least maybe 1 or 2 semesters. And tuition fees you will have to pay semester wise, so that can be done, that transactions can happen at the first payment might happen in August directly to the university, and
Yeah.
then remaining amount you can pay in January. The next payment will be for the spring semester directly to the university in January. As far as the living expenses goes, apart from once you go to the US, your parents can, and you have a bank account, you can directly transfer, say maybe 5 to 6, 7, $10,000 depending on the location that you are in, so that at least some 6 months of living is covered with that.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Hey Jay, I also have a similar question.
Hmm.
Yeah. So HDFC has this some rule like next disbursement should be done like after 6 months or something like that. So
No, I
should
didn't. I
I?
didn't get that. HDFC has this.
Yeah, so this Credila has the guy which I took loan from. So he told me like the after the first disbursement, you can take the second disbursement after like 6 months. So should I disburse the amount total for like the 2 semesters and then the cost of living altogether once?
So I am not sure if they have a 6 month between disbursement policy. Their policy is that once the loan is sanctioned within 6 months, the first disbursement should happen.
Mhm.
But for subsequent disbursements, even I'm not sure because 6 months might be a little too late. Your first payment of fees will happen in August, and then the next fee payment will happen in January.
Yeah.
All right. So if you wait for 6 months, sometimes that might be February. So you might need the money a little earlier. So just get it clarified from the HDFC guy. Maybe I'll also check with them and get that clarified. Whether they really have to get it, you have to wait for 6 months after the first disbursement, or they can do it earlier.
So even I have taken HDFC. So what my agent was speaking was like we should get the first disbursement. Uh,
I think, yes, you're on mute.
Hello.
Uh, yeah, yes.
So this is Swapnil here.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
know.
also have the HDFC Credila.
Uh,
So one of my agents said that we have to take as much as possible in the terms like we have to pay first semester fee,
hmm.
and once we have that amount first semester fee plus the living expenses for first few months, then we can claim for the second disbursement once through the support portal and the email dropped way, and that usually takes 2 to 3 weeks. But I haven't heard that there is 6 months policy, anything like that, at least
Okay.
from my end
See
too.
now, most banks, right, including Credila and others also, they will always insist on you taking the maximum disbursement possible because if they give you all the money now, they you start paying interest on all the money now from now, right? Whereas if you take it in two disbursements, say suppose you take money, uh, say you take 10 lakhs now and then you take 10 lakhs in January. For the period of August to December, you are paying interest on only 10 lakhs. Whereas if you take 20 lakhs now, you will start paying interest on 20 lakhs from today. So for the banks or any loan provider, it is always beneficial for them that you borrow a lot of money in advance, in upfront. So they will always try to do that. They will always try to tell you that, but find out what the exact rules are. And as far as the universities don't need the tuition money upfront, right? They need money in August, and then they would need the money in January. So if you cannot take the disbursement till January for the tuition amount that you are supposed to pay in January, you will just save a little interest on the loan. Otherwise, if the money is lying idle in your account and you will have to pay the university only in January, you will not. You are just paying. I mean, a little extra interest on your education loan. That's the only thing. It's not that it is a problem. Hmm. Uh, so whatever it is, I would say maybe get it clarified from the HDFC guy if they are insisting that they should. I don't think there is then they have a gap of 6 months between disbursements. They do pay earlier also, but let's still get that clarified.
Krishna.
Okay. Harshal, like you have SBI in India, there are good banks. So there is always Bank of America and all the other banks, the Wells Fargo and all that. They are all good banks. But my thing is, I mean, you should, if you're going finding a bank account, you should find a bank which has I mean, a branch local or close to campus. Uh, Otherwise, it might be not be very convenient for you to travel and I mean, go for any banking purposes. If you have to visit a bank, then it should be convenient for you. That's the only thing. So rather than and honestly, at this moment, as a student level, the balance that you will be maintaining in that account is not going to be so high. and none of the banks pay interest on your checking account. What you'll be opening is a checking account, and none of these banks will pay you any interest on, even if it's a big bank, small bank, whatever it is, they will not pay any interest on your checking account. Once you start earning and once you're ready to make investments and all that, then you can actually think of which bank do you want to bank with. But as of now, I would say just find what is local and convenient for you. Okay. Any other questions on forex or insurance? Insurance is something that I'll talk about now. Okay. Uh, Now, quickly about insurance, all international students are required to have medical insurance in the US. Now, there are only a few things that you should definitely know about insurance is how insurance works. There are two kinds of policies that are available in the US. One is what is known as a 100% cashless policy, and the other thing is a normal policy where you actually, if you visit a doctor or if you have to go for a doctor's visit, you will have to pay the doctors first and then you claim that money from your insurance company. It is highly recommended that you opt for a 100% cashless policy. One way to do it is buy insurance from the university, but university insurances are generally expensive. They are 100% cashless. They have a wide range of coverage also in terms of which hospitals and which network of doctors can you visit. Um, but they would be slightly on the expensive side. The second option is that you can check with your university as well as maybe some seniors studying in your university. There are these local insurance companies that also provide insurance. Most of these have cashless claims or the cashless coverage, but the network of hospitals may not be very wide. Some of them would be very state restricted. Say, for example, if you are going to a university in New York, then only in the state of New York you can have cashless claims. If you maybe fall sick elsewhere, they will still cover you, but then it will not be cashless. Say, for example, if you go to California for a trip or something and you have to visit a doctor there, then you will have to pay the doctor in California and claim it from your insurance company in New York. But again, that those insurance sometimes come out to be cheaper. Some insurance companies sell special plans for international students, so check those out. Find out which is the best insurance in your area, in your around your university, and you can then decide to go ahead with that. But my recommendation is that go for an insurance that has at least a cashless claim service, at least in some network hospitals around your university and in that campus. Uh, so the third type of insurance that generally you get, there are Indian companies who sell insurance. One of the most popular ones are Bajaj Alliance. I think they have Reliance has some insurance plans. ICICI Lombard has the insurance plans, and most of them, and in fact I would say almost none of them, are cashless insurances. Their prices are very cheap compared to the US insurances. It might be almost sometimes half of what you pay there. I mean, the Indian companies will charge you only half of what you pay. But there are the problem is that they are not cashless insurances. And what happens typically is that, for example, if you have to visit the way cashless insurance works is that, say, for whatever reason, you have to visit a doctor. All you need to show the doctor is your insurance card. Now, once you show your insurance card, what the doctor does is that there is something called as copay, COPAY, copay for every insurance policy. You need to understand what copay means. Copay means that is the amount that you are going to pay from your pocket, and the rest of the amount is going to be paid by the insurance company. Copays are somewhere anywhere between $20, $25. Sometimes it can be as low as $5 to $10 kind of thing, but generally in that range. The Indian companies have a copay of $100. Most of the Indian companies that offer insurance have a copay of $100. Now, copays are generally per illness and not per visit. Like for one particular illness, suppose you went to the doctor for the first time, the doctor would say, okay, I would and if your copay is say $20, what it means that you have to, before you leave the hospital or before you leave the doctor's office, you have to pay $20 to the doctor from your, maybe you're using your card or cash or however, and then the remaining whatever is the balance of the payment that the doctor will charge for your treatment, the doctor's office will directly bill the insurance company, so it will be settled by the insurance company directly. In case it is a non-cashless policy, then what it means is that suppose the doctor's bill comes to say $400, you pay the doctor 400 and then come back and make a claim with your insurance company for the balance, I mean the total amount minus the copay. So if your copay is $100 with say ICICI, then you will have to claim it from the ICICI. Most of them have US offices. So ICICI will have an office in New York. So you maybe over phone or over internet, I mean over their website, you file a claim with ICICI for for $300 because 100 is your copay. That is how the insurance policy works. My recommendation is always go for a cashless policy because claiming that and all is a hassle, and you don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. Of course, let's hope nobody has to use insurance, in the sense you don't fall sick and everything goes smoothly where you don't really need to actually go through this process. But in case you have to do that, it should be a smooth process for you. Another problem with non-cashless insurance is that many times doctors tend to overcharge patients. This is a big problem in the US. For example, you go there, you have say maybe something simple as cold, cough, fever, whatever it is. The doctor says that I mean, my bill would be say $300. Doctors charge a lot. Any visit is not going to be more less than $200 for a simple visit. So the doctor said that okay, whatever this is, I'm charging you $300. You then, if you don't have a cashless policy, you would have to pay the doctor $300, walk out of that office, get the receipts of the payment, and then claim it with your insurance company. Your insurance company would then, in many cases, say that for this treatment, our standard payment is only, I mean, we feel that the standard price for this treatment is only $200. So we cannot pay you 300. At that point, it becomes almost next to impossible for you to argue with the insurance company because if that is their policy, they have a booklet where they would have, a list of all possible illnesses and the possible amounts that they would be charging. They have a big manual for that, which is available, but nobody bothers to. As a student, I don't think you would bother to read all that manual before you actually visit a doctor or before you purchase insurance. If you want to do that, you are most welcome. Go ahead and do that. That is always a nice thing to do, but mostly you will not do that. So when you make a claim, that is when you will realize that okay, for this illness, the doctor is going to supposed to charge only 200, or my insurance company is only willing to pay me 200, because again, they say that you went to an expensive doctor. You should have gone to a doctor who charged you within the limit. This is one problem that often occurs, and then you end up paying a lot more for insurance effectively because you cannot claim 100% of what you have paid the insurance, paid the doctor. So just be a little careful about all this when you actually purchase insurance. Make sure there is a network of hospitals that is covered by your insurance company, so that you know which hospitals to visit in case you a need arises. Uh, the only time university, I mean, sorry, the Indian insurance companies offer cashless claim is if you require hospitalization, if you are supposed to be hospitalized for more than 24 hours. So any treatment that is requires hospitalization for more than 24 hours, only then the cashless process works with even Indian companies. Say, for example, you fall sick where the doctor has to admit you, and for maybe 2 days, 3 days, you might have to undergo some treatment or say a minor surgery or whatever it is. In that case, you can directly claim, the doctor will directly claim from the insurance company. But any that is with Indian insurance companies. That is the only time they work cashless. Most other times where you have to actually just do a office visit, where you're not going to be admitted to the hospital, the claim has to be filed by you with the insurance company. So you pay the doctor and then do that. So that is something that you should be aware of when you're purchasing insurance. Any other uh, any question? So Ishan, I guess you asked what is the problem of the service not being cashless. I think I just answered that. You still have any further questions on that? What?
No, thanks. It got answered.
Yeah. So before purchasing insurance, understand what is the copay amount. That is something that you should be aware of. So make sure you read what the copay is. That is something that you should do. Yeah. I think Sanjana Joshi, I think had a question. I think I.
Yeah. One question I had regarding travel insurance. Which insurance should we go for?
Okay. So there is nothing something when you say travel insurance, like travel health insurance are the
Yeah.
same. So this is the same, the ICICI. Okay, now what you can do is just to be on that extra safe side. mm,
Huh.
if you are going to purchase a US insurance, right, it will still take some time for the insurance policy to start. So, like you go there, you might want to find out what is the university offering, what is the US companies offering. So, there might be a 3 or 4 day lag between your US insurance policy getting started till the time you from the time you reach, right? In that, let's consider, I mean, in an unfortunate situation where you fall sick in that 3 or 4 days period only. I mean, you just land there and you need medical assistance. For that, you can provide, you can buy any travel insurance for maybe from ICICI Lombard. Bajaj Alliance is good. Reliance Insurance is also offering, or just go on Policy Bazaar and just see which ones are offering. They would come to somewhere in the range of a 2 week policy will be anywhere between 3 to 5,000 rupees is what they
Okay.
will charge. Any policy is good enough. I would say ICICI or Bajaj. I've had students who have purchased that most of the times. But if you have some other things, like I think Digit also has now come up with health insurance in some cases for some countries. So for US, whichever is the best one, you can opt for that.
Okay. Thank you.
So is it recommended to get the travel insurance with respect to like we are getting the university insurance and still we will go for travel
Yes,
insurance?
so your university insurance will kind of start, in most cases, will start from the first day of class. Most universities have that policy. Or it might, if you have the option of starting your university insurance from the day you land, then you don't need travel insurance. But if there is going to be a lag between the time you land and I mean, there is going to be maybe a 5 day, 10 day period in between the time that you land and between the time you actually your university insurance starts. Then for the 10 days, an extra added precaution, I would recommend that you buy a local, I mean, from India, you buy travel insurance. So that in case there is some need of emergencies or some medical assistance that you need for the 10 days, you don't end up paying from your own pocket. So does university offer any medical assistance? Yes, universities have medical assistance. They have something known as a health center, and as long as so for all so say suppose you are not feeling well, you can always walk into the health center, which is free. So the health center is free, but the health center will not cover some major so minor problems. They will fix it for you. They'll tell you what to do. They can even give some, there might be a doctor or nurse. Generally a nurse is always available, and sometimes there might be a doctor who might be able to prescribe something for you if they are small problems. If not, if there is some, they feel that no, this needs a hospitalization or they need it needs to be referred to another doctor, then they will refer you to another medical service provider. But yes, initially, yes, you can always, if it's something not very, if it's not an emergency situation, you can always walk into the medical health facility of your university. All universities have a health center. Okay. Any other questions on insurance? Yeah, so Tata AIG General Insurance. So, so again, Tata AIG General Insurance, I'm not sure if they do provide travel insurance, travel and health insurance. But if they do, then definitely yes, you can take that. All are almost all are good. In fact, I would not say that one is better than the other. Just compare what are the rates that they are offering and what facilities that they are offering. Again, you don't need a lot of I mean, now when you go to buy insurance, no, most of these they will say we have a gold plan, we have a platinum plan, and they have a lot of things like they will cover your lost baggages in travel also. They will cover a lost passport and all that. You don't really need all that. I would say if you really need that, you don't really need a very high insurance. Apart from the university, see whether you should buy renters insurance and all that. My recommendation is not really required. As a renter's insurance, there is hardly any stuff in your apartment that is so much of value to you that you can, it would get stolen. Or if there is theft or fire in your apartment. Mm, Once you eventually, few years down the line, when you purchase your own house and all that, then you can think of buying how you will have to probably look at buying home insurance. But as a renter's insurance, I think you are just wasting money. As a student, I mean, what the total value of your goods, right, is not going to be so valuable that you need insurance for it. I mean, one suit, two suitcases, few clothes. What else do you have? And most of it, honestly, what happens is you might think that okay, I'm buying insurance for say $1,000 or maybe $10,000 is the coverage of my insurance. When you actually go to claim, and this is not just with US renters insurance, any insurance company, they will do a valuation saying that okay, your old jeans and t-shirts and all were hardly $2 or $1, so we will not pay you that $10,000. We will only pay you $200 for your clothes that maybe got damaged in say a fire or flood or theft or whatever it is, right? It becomes very difficult to claim these health renters insurance claims. So my recommendation is you don't really need like renters insurance. If you're owning a home, yes, you might buy a homeowner's insurance, but that's something that you will have to think of much later. No, I mean, Rohan, if university insurances are only cashless, they don't give you the option of whether you want to pay a prepaid or a postpaid insurance plan. They don't offer that. They are all cashless insurances only, where you just show they'll only give you a card. The only amount that you'll have to pay the doctor is the copay amount, and you then the rest is settled between the insurance company and the doctor. Harshal has a question, sir. Before we fly, is there any get-together party we will be getting? Harshal, most of the people here, I mean, at least from our side, honestly, we don't, I mean, organize any get-togethers or parties. Most of my students, I don't think, even the ones here today, are in Mumbai. So some of them are. So we don't really do any get-togethers or parties. So no, the answer is no to that. Sorry about that.
Sir, any packing guide that you would like to give us?
Packing guide, I would say, is that travel light as much as possible. Don't pack unnecessary stuff. Most of the stuff is available in the US. So just travel with as many clothes as you can, because most of the times, most of you will be very lazy to do laundry. Your apartment, I mean, there may not be a washing machine and dryer facility inside your apartment. There would be one for your apartment complex, which is common. So and most students would do laundry at least once a week. The lazy ones will do it once in 2 weeks. So you will need clothes, not very formal but regular clothes that will last at least for a week. So carry as many clothes as you can. The rest of the stuff like food items and all that are all available in the US. Yes, the pricing might be a little different, but at some point, I mean, how much can you carry, right? It's a matter of 10-15 days maximum of food that you can carry. Beyond that, you will have to purchase it in the US. So rather just travel light. In case you are booking kind of, I mean, your airline is allowing you three baggages, then you might carry. If not, I would say don't pay extra baggages. Sometimes, courier service has come out to be cheaper. If you really want that way, there are some courier services that will send you a 10 kg box or a 15 kg box to your apartment. So maybe once you go, your parents can actually send you, pack some stuff and send it to you if that is how you want to do that. So, it will be a cardboard box that they pack it in. I mean, they provide you, this courier companies also provide you with the packaging material. They provide you a box, you just put in stuff, you send it to them, send it to you. I mean, they just send it to you. That comes out to be a little cheaper. Um, I mean, it will still be costing you, I mean, 4 to 5,000 rupees for courier, but rather than paying extra luggage to the airlines, that this might be a cheaper way to do it. Or so that is one way to do. I know someone in Mumbai who does that. I'll maybe share the contact details. If someone is interested, they can talk to them directly and get it done. There are companies, I mean, there are these providers who also provide vacuum packed of fresh food. So I know students, not something I recommend, but students also take, 100, 200 chapatis vacuum packed that can go suffice for maybe 2 weeks or something like that for with them. So the service is very good. I mean, the vacuum packing quality and all that is excellent. So when you open packets, they appear. I mean, they don't appear very stale or they don't get spoiled in that for around 2 weeks at least. Even they last food lasts for even a month in that vacuum packed containers or pouches that they do it. So they provide. There are these services available. Again, whether or not you should use them is your discretion. But I can pass on the some contact numbers of one. I think someone who does this in Mumbai. In other cities also, I'm sure there are people who do that. If you want to use that, you can use that. That's something I leave it up to you totally. But my recommendation is travel light and go ahead with it. Yash has asked saying that the community that you have booked an apartment with requires you to have renters insurance. So now, if they do, then there is something that you will have to purchase. Honestly, if it's not required, then I would say don't purchase it. Ishan has a question. Say, if you're, I heard that in the US, having an insurance is useful in case you drive regularly and the car faces some damage. So, Ishan, if you are driving, then that is vehicle insurance. That your health insurance will not cover any of your vehicle damages. You can now again you can drive on your Indian driver's license up to 1 year in the US. You don't need an international driver's license or anything. The one that you get in India, your regular Indian driver's license, you can drive up to 1 year. When you rent a car, now again, if you're purchasing a car, you will of course purchase insurance also. If you're renting a car in the US, then the rental company, and you say you're renting a car for 3 days, maybe you just want to go out somewhere on the weekend and you want to rent a car for 3 days, kind of thing. You will then have to purchase insurance from the rentals company only. They will only sell you insurance. So of course, if you have already have car insurance, then you need not buy the rental company's insurance. You can then claim that in case there is damages, you can claim it on your car insurance. But if you don't have car insurance, and I don't think you will have car insurance unless you have a car, then the only option is to purchase insurance from the rental company. Insurance, again, liability insurance is mandatory to drive. So if you're driving your own car or a friend's car, then that car should be insured. That is, the owner of the car should have purchased liability insurance. If you're buying a rental car, I mean, if you're sorry, not buying, you're actually renting a car, then the rental company you will have to purchase insurance from the rental company unless you show some other insurance to them saying that I don't want your insurance, I already have insurance. But as a student, you will not have any other insurance, so you just have to purchase insurance from the rental company and drive. That is your only option. Yeah, so Mihir has a question that you purchased travel insurance for 5 days when you booked your flight via Make My Trip. Yeah, that is fine. You can use it. So Make My Trip, I don't think so. Your underlying insurance policy will be not through Make My Trip, but some other insurance company.
Yeah, it is through Reliance.
Yeah, it is through Reliance. So that as long as that policy is valid, it's the same thing. I mean, they just bundled it together with your tickets or gave you that option to purchase at that point. If you have for someone who has not purchased, you can directly go to the Reliance site or any, like I said, any other company site and purchase that insurance. So that should be fine. I mean, as long as that is valid till 1st of August. When are you traveling?
13th August.
And your health insurance starts from 1st August.
Yeah.
Okay, so ideally then you didn't need that, right?
So I booked tickets. I didn't know that my health insurance is starting from August 1.
Okay. Fine. Then I mean, so it's like you have two insurance covers. In case you have to use it, you will have to decide which one to go for.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Last thing that I wanted to talk about immigration. A lot of messages, sorry, in the group or some students ask me, should I carry financial documents during immigration and all that? All that is not required. The only thing is your passport I-20. Those are the only two documents that the immigration officer is going to ask you for. So don't really have to carry all the financial documents that you probably carried during the visa or you showed to the university to get your I-20 and all that. The immigration officer is not going to ask you that. At the port of entry, they will only ask you why are you here, which university are you going to, and then they will let you inside the country. In case you are going to an airport which is not close to your university, honest, you are allowed to do that. So don't worry about that. If you are going too early, that is also fine. Of course, you can't enter the country more than 30 days before the start of your program, as mentioned on your I-20. But if you are within that 30-day limit, you can enter anywhere in the US. If you have plans of suppose you have say a brother, sister, uncle, aunt somewhere staying in New York and your university is in California, and hence you reach New York maybe 2 weeks before the start of your program because you want to spend 2 3 days or 1 week with your family member. In case the visa officer asks, you can honestly tell them that I am here. I came to New York and I'm not going to California because my California tickets are going to be next week. I will be traveling next week. I have a brother, sister, whoever is in the US. I would spend a week with them and then move to my university. Don't really need to worry about all those details. Whatever is your travel plan, absolutely fine. The visa officer is not going to. Sometimes, I mean, just out of curiosity, if they see that okay, your university is in California and you landed in New York, out of curiosity, they would definitely ask you, why did you come here? Why not go to the other coast when your university is there? If you're doing that because you found a really cheap ticket to New York, tell them that and say my after 2 hours I have a connecting flight to California. If that is the case, if you really plan to spend time in New York or whatever wherever you want to, you can tell them that there is nothing to really be afraid of or be worried about that. Okay, what if the visa officer asks me that? So if you haven't booked tickets, you want to probably plan your travel accordingly, stay at a relative's place, then you can do that. Uh, No, I mean, Ishan, if you have if your flight is via some country, say Singapore, Japan, kind of, does immigration happen there? No, nothing will happen there. If your final destination is in the US, um, what do you say? Your immigration will happen at US only. The only kind of what Etihad Airways or some of these Air Emirates or some of them had done that is what they had done is for flights via Dubai, they had a US immigration counter in Dubai, especially for people who had a connecting flight to Dubai, though to US from Dubai. So what it meant is that there was a US immigration officer's counters. The US immigration officer had set up counters in Dubai so that because a lot of traffic was going through Dubai, they used to do, you could actually clear your immigration in Dubai and then board the flight to the US. So when you reached US, you were directly let inside the country. You didn't have to face the immigration officer there. You directly went and picked up your bags and walked through customs. So that was a facility that only I think Etihad or one of the Air Emirates or someone had started. I don't know if that facility is still there in Dubai or not, but that's the only thing. So the I-20 is not required for any interstate travel. The only person who will be checking your I-20 is the immigration officer at the airport, or anytime you are crossing the US border. Uh, or rather not crossing, you're entering the US border. Say you go to Canada, you have a Canadian visa, you go to Canada, while coming back, they will again check your I-20 if you're coming on a student visa. Traveling between states, you drive, you fly, nobody is going to ask you for your I-20 or even for that matter, passport. They will need some photo ID. If you have a driver's license, state license, your university I card, all those things are valid. if you don't, your passport is the only license ID. If that's till you get your other IDs, your passport is the only ID. So you can just show your passport, but they won't ask you for your I-20. Any other questions that you have? Oh, okay. Just last thing. In case you are traveling to a friend's place or a family's place and then eventually booking your flight from there to your university, the only thing that you should be keep in mind is that most US airlines do not offer any baggage allowances. So there are going to be no, they except I think now Southwest Airlines, all airlines, the basic ticket does not come with any baggages. That is, you can't carry any baggages for free. So they will charge you, and it could be anywhere between $25, $50 per baggage. Uh, so, say for example, you book a flight from Mumbai to New York or wherever to New York. Then you decide to take a halt for 2 3 days, and then you decide, okay, I'll book a flight from New York to my airport. By checking tickets, you will have to make sure that you have to pay extra for baggages. So that is an additional cost that you have to keep in mind. So don't be surprised that okay, the airline is not letting me take baggages for free. So something that you should be aware of. If you have booked flights on a single ticket, that is your flight is say maybe you are going to Chicago, but your flight is via say Dallas or via Atlanta. In that case, you don't have to pay any extra baggage for the domestic flight because it's booked on a single ticket. But if you are booking two separate tickets, then for the domestic leg, you will have to pay for your baggage. So that is just remember that. Yes, so immigration happens at the first uh, airport that you land in the US. Beyond that, there will be no immigration. Beyond that, there will be nothing. Actually, you just walk out of the airport. So if your first thing you are going to land in, say, New York, immigration and customs will happen at New York only. After that, it is just like a normal flight. There will be no. You will only be dealing with the airline authorities. There will be no other immigration. There will be no customs at the other airports for you. Okay. Any other questions for now, or we'll end today's session? It's been quite some time. How much time does the immigration process take? Immigration process can take anywhere between 1 to 3 hours, depending on which airport and how much is the rush, and how many flights land at that time along with your flight. So sometimes it can take very long. Sometimes it just happens. So maybe in say 20 30 minutes. Depends on how many flights have landed at that point at that airport and how many immigration officers counters are available at that airport. So in general, my recommendation is if you're having a connecting flight, a 4 hour gap between your flight, between the first port of entry in the US till your connecting flight is more than sufficient. If it's something less than 2 hours, if it's say 2 hours or less, then you might have to request the airline staff to try kind of help you expedite with the immigration and customs process. Before you land, you can tell them, or maybe at when you board your if it's a direct flight from Mumbai or from anywhere in India, you might be able to talk to them in the airline itself, or maybe if it's a connecting flight, say you're traveling via London or maybe some European country, or maybe via Singapore, Japan, or wherever it is. When you're boarding your last flight, you tell them that my next connecting flight is say within 2 hours. So can you please help me get through immigration or customs a little faster? Sometimes they might, sometimes they might not. If you miss a flight, generally they will try to accommodate you on the next flight. That is the best they can do. But if you have 4 hours or 3 or more hours of transit time at your final at the US port of entry, I think that is sufficient. If it's less than 3 or less than 2, generally, even 2 hours generally is sufficient. But if it's less than 2, then sometimes you might have a problem of not being able to catch that flight on time. So then they will board you on the next flight. So
One more question,
yeah,
then.
sorry.
Yeah. So, like, let's say it's a connecting flight from Dubai. So do they transfer the luggage from the first flight to the next flight by themselves, or do we have to like collect it and then again
No,
like go through the
at the
checking process?
first port of entry, right? Wherever you land first in the US, you will have to carry your bags, pass them through customs, and then you will have to give it to the airline to put it on the next flight. So you will have to clear customs at the first port of entry. So when you land in the US, the first thing you will have to go through is the immigration counter. After you are done with the immigration, then you will have to go to the baggage claim, collect your bags, pass them through the customs counter, and again maybe if your next air flight is through whichever terminal, take those bags or just give it to the airline. It need not be whichever terminal, but find the counter of your airline and then give it to the airline again, and then they will then take it to the final destination.
So this will happen in US, right? But if the
Yes, this will
correct
happen in
flight is
US.
from outside US, then
No, so say suppose your flight is from Bombay, your flight is from Mumbai, London, New York, and New York to Boston, right? Or something like that, if, for example. Or in your case, you are going to San Francisco, right?
yeah. So via
Right.
Dubai.
How is your flight via Dubai? So,
Yeah,
which airline are you traveling?
Emirates.
Emirates. So if yeah, so Emirates, I think um, so if it's directly Dubai, San Francisco, then your customs and all will be happen at San Francisco only. So you will get your bags in San Francisco only. But say someone is traveling to say Mumbai, London, New York, Boston, then they will have to collect their bags in New York,
Mm.
pass through customs, and then again find whichever airline they are traveling is their last journey. Find the airline counter there and go and hand over their bag. So at Mumbai, the bag tags will say Boston. Your bags will have a tag of Boston, but at New York you will still have to collect them and put it on the next flight.
Okay.
Okay.
So once again asking, so for the packed food and the grains, whatever we take, there is no maximum limit, right? And apart from the airlines weightage,
No, there
right?
is no maximum limit.
Okay, and we don't have to mention anything as such on customs or any form that we have to fill
There
before
is,
flying.
as long as you're not carrying any live plants or live animals or animal meat, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, okay,
Animal
sure.
meat, there are restrictions on carrying animal meat. Like, don't carry any mutton, chicken products, even if they are dried and kind of dried fish and all that. I would say avoid. Um, any plants or anything, I mean, which have roots kind of thing, right? I say you don't carry dhania pattas, with, I mean, actual dhania. Powders and all that are fine. I'm talking of leaves and plants. I say those kind of things I would say avoid.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you.
Basically, the point is anything that you can plant and grow of that plant in the US is something that you should avoid. So fruits and all that with seeds and all that वैसे सब avoid करो. So your current mobiles will not work. Ideally, I mean, it will work provided you buy international travel calling facility on your phone. It will work. International calling facility for maybe 10-15 days is around 4 to 5 thousand rupees by most airline providers. Most Indian pro like Vodafone, Airtel, and all that they have international calling facility that you can activate so that your phones will also work there. My recommendation is don't go for all that. Uh, all airports in the US have free Wi-Fi. So the moment you land in the US at the airport itself, you can activate your Wi-Fi. I mean, you can connect through the airport Wi-Fi. That will give you. You can call your parents via WhatsApp and tell them, or send a message via WhatsApp depending on what time of the day is in India, and tell them that you landed. So internet calling using WhatsApp will work as long as you have Wi-Fi. For the first few days till you get your US mobile numbers, you can use that. Your apartments, wherever you stay, will have Wi-Fi. Your university campuses will also have free Wi-Fi for you. Airports are like I said, and in most public places, public libraries and all, there is free internet and Wi-Fi. So you could take advantage of that, and maybe yes, while you're traveling on the road for some moment, some time you may not have internet connectivity, at least for the first few days. But I think that is enough. So again, Shreya, you are saying that you are traveling via Etihad Airlines and Abu Dhabi is not the port of entry. I don't think Abu Dhabi will be the port of entry. Port of entry is the first airport that you land in the US. That is known as your port of entry. Abu Dhabi will be a transit this thing. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to get down from the plane and go into another plane. Your baggages and all will be collected wherever is your first entry into the US. So customs and all will happen at you will not get your bags at Abu Dhabi. Customs will happen at the first airport that you land in the US.
Hello.
Yes, Shreya.
Uh, uh, Actually, in Abu Dhabi, we can do immigration.
You can do immigrations, not customs.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So if Abu Dhabi is providing, so that's what I'm saying. Like I said, the Dubai, they had a US customs. If Abu Dhabi also has that facility, you can do immigration. So what it means that when you enter US, you will not have to wait in line for the immigration counter. And these US immigration has started that at some airports because it just to avoid rush at major airports in US. That's the only
Mm.
reason why they do that. So there'll be a US immigration officer where you clear immigration. They will check your passport. They'll check your I-20, scan it, verify whether your I-20 is valid, and if yes, they'll say, they'll let you board that next flight. When you reach US, you don't have to go to the immigration counter. You will have to just skip that immigration. You will be allowed to skip the immigration counter, directly claim your bags and clear customs.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I think with this, that will end today's discussion. It's been almost 2 hours now. Maybe we'll have another round of question and answers for all these things maybe a week later, so that whatever more questions you have about immigrations, calling cards, maybe I'll get some information about all that once you reach the US, what calling cards work, what and all that, uh, and have another session on that.
So, what documents do we need to carry apart from passport, I-20, and service fee receipts, everything?
For immigration, only passport I-20, nothing else. But
Okay,
other
sure.
than that, your mark sheets, transcripts, and all that, you may not need it if you have already sent it to the university, official ones. But always have a copy extra with you. I mean, carry it anyway. They don't need to be here. But that's all about it. For immigration, only passport I-20, nothing.
Okay, sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Chalo, bye.